Hey, everybody. On this episode of It Shouldn't Happen to Us, Carlos has received an inbound lead. Does he close it? Does he not close it? Did he prepare? Did he over prepare? Should we prepare for inbound leads? Are they gold or are they, you know what? Find out on today's episode. Straight from Miami, this is It Shouldn't Happen to Us. After 30 plus years of selling and training sales teams, we still screw it up sometimes. And this is where we tell you all about it because it shouldn't happen to us.
So how are you doing, Sophia? Nice to see you.
Great to see you. What do you got going on over there today?
I have some client training. I had a call this morning. I've got a client training coming up, and I had to get, over the weekend I had to get an engagement letter out, and I didn't do it. So I put it together this morning at around 7 a.m. So I had to make sure it was kind of in the inbox before the world woke up. So I just did it this morning, got an engagement letter out, potentially a nice deal. Let's see if the letter comes back or not.
No, nice. Where'd it come from?
Where? So hold on to your hats. You're not going to believe it. Inbound lead.
Ooh.
Lead. Not
interesting.
often we get those that close, right?
No. In our world, not often. Not often.
No,
and when we do, it's really a role. Yeah. It's the roll of the die too, right? When we get them, but I don't know. Let's talk about inbound leads. Why don't we? Do you treat inbound leads differently than you would a regular lead? Would you treat an inbound lead differently than you would treat a referral? There's a lot to unpack. Are you asking me
for the podcast, or is it just you and I having an espresso somewhere, having a little chat?
It's you and I having a little chat.
You just want the truth. You don't want what we would normally tell clients. Yeah. Okay.
No, we want the truth.
What would I normally tell a client? I would normally say to a client or to somebody I was helping out, oh no, every lead is gold. It's an at-bat. You win some, you lose some, you learn some. And everyone should be treated with the utmost respect. That's what I would tell a client. But come on, we've been doing this long enough. So just between you and me sharing an espresso, I'm looking at an inbound lead like, really? I got to call this guy. If anything, because I'd sent I don't know, last week was a pretty good week. We got a few in. We got maybe, 10 inbounds in last week.
Wow.
And I was, I'd thrown a few at you and a few at other people, and I thought, God, I've got to pick up my share of this because I felt like I was making everybody else busy, and I didn't feel like I was carrying my fair share. So I picked a couple up, and this was one of the ones I picked up. And yeah, did I bring my best energy to it? I don't think I did. I mean, I know I should, but I was like, oh God, really? And maybe is it just us, Sophia? Or you've sold. I've sold in many other environments. You've sold in many other environments. Have I just been unlucky to be in environments where inbound leads are absolute garbage, 90% of them? Or was it the same for you?
It was the same for me when I was selling TV advertising, like 30-second commercials on cable networks. I would get some wild inbound leads. I had one crazy woman who wanted to have a 30-second commercial on Fox News about her book, and she's like, I haven't, you haven't returned my calls. I'm outside of your building right now. And I was like, okay, do I call the cops now or later? Yeah, maybe it is industry. It depends on the industry.
I don't know. Let me tell you, when I was selling investment banking services, right, I once got, and you know what? I'm now going back perhaps 30 years, certainly 25. So I imagine all the, all the names. I imagine this, and anybody who's involved is either dead or not. Certainly not listening to podcasts anymore. So I'll share some details which I normally wouldn't. So I got an inquiry. Hey, we need somebody to help us raise some money. I'm like, oh, interesting. Inbound lead. Tell me about your business. He said, the guy got the guy on the phone. He said, this is amazing, Carla. This is the best idea you'll have heard all year.
Well, thank goodness.
Right? I'm like, I can't wait to hear this idea. He said, honestly, I could almost hear the voice. And this is about exactly what he said. He said, do you watch golf? And I said, well, not really. And he said, exactly. Why don't you watch golf? I said, I don't know. I'm not really into it. You know why you're not into it? The guy said, it's a boring game to watch. I'm like, well, it's got a pretty big following, but he said, the problem with golf, he said, is it's too hard. So I've had the best idea ever. I said, what's this idea? He said, big hole golf. Big hole golf. It's golf, but with a bigger hole. This was his genius attack. Golf, but with a bigger hole. That was it. It was the extent of the business model. And he wanted us to go and raise some money for this genius.
It sounds
attack.
like a big opportunity loss,
right? Yeah. Big hole golf.
Carlos, you could have been.
It could have made a fortune, right? Big hole golf.
I kind of just.
You know what, buddy? I'm not sure that's going to be the best idea.
I kind of love this guy.
Big hole golf. This was going. I'll tell you when this was. This must have been something like 2003. 20 years ago. It was about 2003. It was just like as the tech bubble was bursting, and like I was in the TMT team, which was tech, media, telecommunications. So it came to us because of the media. Right? It was basically he was positioning it as a media business. Big hole golf. This was the big genius attack he'd had. This, what does Gerber call it? The entrepreneurial seizure that this guy has had is big hole golf. I mean, come on. So yeah, I don't know if it's just us.
Look,
I
not
think
all
inbound leads. You know what's that?
Yeah. No, I was like, not all heroes wear capes. Okay, Carlos.
Yes, that's right.
So, I like. Here's the thing about inbound leads. We should still use a process. We should still pre-call plan. We should still check out their LinkedIn, do our research before we pick up the phone, because I feel like the impulse is to see, the name, the email, the number, and just, while it's hot and ready, Krispy Kreme donut, better call them now. And so while
the steam's coming off it, right? We're still going to call it, yeah?
Yeah. And we might,
because that turd's just been laid.
Yes.
I'm going to call that now. And I tell you what, I brought the wrong energy. To this lead, I brought the wrong, because I did that. I did exactly what you're just talking about. And it shouldn't happen to us. We should know better.
Right.
You are exactly right. I should have done the pre-call plan. I should have checked in the LinkedIn. And I just rang the guy.
And Carlos...
I did it on a car ride from one place to another. Like, terrible.
And you haven't fully brought it over the line yet, right?
No. I mean, the guy said all the right things to me, right? He said, which we know is danger. But he said all the right things to me. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? If you get this deal, if you get this order, it's bad for you. It's bad.
No, I know that. And listen, right? I bring a very particular kind of energy to a sales call, right? It's bad. It's like that first hit of I don't know. I'm gonna get. It's like your first cigarette, right?
Right.
If you enjoy your first cigarette, bad idea.
Bad idea, right? Yeah. So why do you think it's? Why do you think it's bad? Why do you think it's bad if you do bring this deal over the line, this inbound lead?
I'm old and ugly enough to know that we should never. What is it? Rudyard Kipling said to treat victory and disaster. To treat victory and disaster as two imposters. Treat them just the same. It's I know that I did it wrong, but it is bad for me because it reinforces that I can get away with shit like that, and I shouldn't get away with shit like that. But I should have treated it properly.
It's why we don't do it, Carlos, because it's hard and it's complex. Because think about all the things at play. inbound lead comes in, you should prepare for the first phone call like you would for a referral call. But then you also want to be curious, skeptical, and not attached to the outcome, because we know inbound leads can be a little shady. And so it's like you gotta and go in at the same time. Like this could end up being your biggest client yet. They could end up being a referral machine, but all the while being curious, skeptical, not attached to the outcome. So, I mean, it's quite complex, the mindset and preparation going into reaching out to an inbound lead, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to kind of wear both hats, right? I think absolutely curious, skeptical, not attached to the outcome, but also bring that cool energy, which is I'm really interested in you and your business, and I want to be a consultant, and I mean, we know how to dance on that line, and it is a tricky line to dance on, right? To dance on that line where I really, I'm going to be the coolest guy you ever met, but also I'm not sure that I even want to speak to you. So to dance down that line is pretty tough. I know that I usually bring a pretty cool energy to a first call, and I did do the first call. I did it in way too relaxed.
But you're a master. You're a freaking master. I've seen recordings of these types of calls, and you just go in with an energy that is, cool, calm, would like the business, don't need the business, here to learn about you. Cool if we do business. Cool if we don't.
Only want the business if it's a fit for both of us.
Yeah.
And because that's real. But I'll tell you, I was thinking about this. Do you know where that comes from? I was honestly thinking about it, because roll the clock back 10 years and I was an absolute train wreck. So what's changed over 10 years? And I was thinking about it. A lot of things have changed. Experiences, it's cool to get experience. We've become masters of our craft, of course. It helps that we teach, and it helps our selling that we teach, and it helps our teaching that we sell. Absolutely, I know all that. But you know the biggest difference? At bats. Over the past 10 years, I've had a conversation like that. How many times? 5,000 times? Who knows? A lot of times. A lot. It can be 5,000. It's worth that 500 weeks in 10 years. 500 weeks. I don't know, on average, 5 a week. 500. 2,500. Let's imagine it's 2,500 at bats. You get good over 2,500 at bats, right? You do. Makes a big difference.
And you streamline too, Carlos. Like our HubSpot at the moment, for example, the chatbot we have, it helps so much because guess what? You get an inbound lead. You might build amazing bonding and rapport. Let's say you spend 10 minutes getting to know the person, only to find out that what they want has nothing to do with what we really do. It's all that those at bats also help you think, is there any technology that could kind of help us already start pre-qualifying and disqualifying that's going to help me with my questions as well on that call? I think you're right. It's at bats.
I don't think there's any substitute for it. It's like that. It's like that opening scene of. I'm going to age myself now. From Russia with Love, second Bond film, when what was she called? Something Klebb, Olga Klebb or something. She says this spy is presented to her, and they say he's the best trained, and Olga Klebb says, I like training, but experience is better. That experience is magic, right? To have a lot of at-bats. And if you're listening to this podcast and you remember From Russia with Love, you may remember the scene. But it's, I've had a lot of at-bats. I've had a lot of conversations. I've had a lot of conversations with people that try to push me around. I've had a lot of conversations with people who are genuinely in need of help. And they subdivide, right? People that genuinely in need of help, but they've got no money. Well, then, that's tricky. And I've had lots with people with loads of money, but they genuinely didn't need help. But I needed money. You have a lot of conversations, and those at-bats are golden. And you're right. I let my training slip. and I came at it with a ton of experience. But what do we always say in Sandler? If you're not training, if you're not developing, then you're not really getting 10 years of experience. You're getting 1 year of experience 10 times over. So who knows? We'll see if the engagement letter comes back. Then I did something right, or maybe I just ran into a guy who really wanted to work with us.
It's amazing. You remember when, Carlos, when I was doing executive briefings, like 2 a month, and it's just so funny. I'd get 15 people register. Like I'd put out a flyer on Friday.
Yeah.
And then Monday morning I'd come in and there's like 15 registrations. And
they're inbounds in many ways.
They're inbounds in many ways. And we got to think about like the buyer's journey too. There's so many articles and so many webinars and things that I've attended and read all about the current buyer's journey. And we understand now that we have Apple Pay and you can buy everything, click now, buy now, pay now. We understand that when that impulse hits, that us as salespeople, we want to be there to be the trusted advisor on demand, right? But how many things do you inquire about that 3 days later you're like, I don't really want that anymore? I think that's exactly what happened with these registrations. On Monday morning, I'd be like, oh, look, lovely, 15 people registered. So let me like make the calls and ask them what they're looking forward to in the webinar and get to know these people. Dial number 1, hey, George, this is Sophia from Sandler Training. Probably doesn't ring any bells. And they'd say, no, I have no idea. All right. Oh, that's okay. It's not uncommon. You registered for a session called Why Salespeople Fail and What to Do About It. And they'd say, no, I didn't.
Is your email address like george.jones at, ABC?
And they'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
no,
like, well,
I didn't do that.
Yeah. No.
Not me.
And Carlos,
again, it's like Shaggy.
It
wasn't me.
It wasn't me. And I'm here to tell you that out of 15, about 6 of those people would be like, no, that wasn't me. Like just straight up. And I'm not gonna go to war with them on the phone because I don't want to come across as a douche canoe, right? And you told me something one time. I remember you're like, you got to treat these people like you as the salesperson are the receptionist at a drug rehab clinic. And this is someone who needs help, and they knock on the door and they're like, is this the drug rehab clinic? And you're like, yeah, come on in. And they're like, no, I think I'm in the right place. And you're like, what? Because you said something like they're reticent, like they know they need help. And in the moment they impulsively autofilled a form for them. But now there's a person picking up the phone and reaching their hand out to come help you, and they're like, whoa, hey, wait.
Yeah, that's right. I'm a real big believer that they either when somebody reaches out, especially in our world, which is way more typically a demand generation rather than demand fulfillment, right? There's demand generation or demand fulfillment. We typically sit in the basket of demand generation.
Yeah.
There are those times people like look at their sales numbers and say, my goodness me, I need help here. Then we're in a demand fulfillment role. That's when we find ourselves pitching against 2 other companies, right? But when we are, truly making great outreach, we're hitting great marketing or great outreach of our own, and we pique somebody's interest, somebody's curiosity. That's when we're in demand generation sales, and somebody's reached out to us. They made a decision. I'm going to fill this form in, or I'm going to shoot an email to this. I'm going to do a Google search, find 2 or 3 local options, do a little research. I'm just going to do a reach out, and there's a decision made. And a decision made, 30-40% of the time is regretted within 30 minutes. There's that buyer's remorse that can even happen on a decision. You regret a decision made 30-40 minutes, afterwards. And so that underlines in that balance of how prepped you want to be for an inbound lead versus time. I actually think time. I think speed to that inbound lead is extremely valuable. Should it be done at the? I mean, is the price worth the payoff, right? Or is the payoff worth the price? The payoff is I get to it quick. The price is I'm not as prepared as I could be. Is the price worth is the payoff worth the price? I'm not sure, but I know speed, time kills all deals, and I want to get to that guy quick.
Yeah.
And when you come in on a Monday and you see, we're so used to instant gratification now that I think that what time window has reduced. I legitimately I'd run out of one of my supplements that Carolina says I'm supposed to take every day, and so I went on Amazon on Saturday. And I could click one touch click to get this supplement, but it said it wouldn't arrive until Thursday, and I was horrified.
Huh?
Horrified. Thursday?
No.
It's Saturday today. Thursday? How dare you? I was insulted at the prospect of having to wait.
Thursday. So what am I supposed to do? Just be a malnourished?
Withering away. I felt myself, like that scene in Wizard of Oz where she throws a bucket of water over the witch.
Yeah,
I felt myself melting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go here on Bird Road and try on coffins.
Yeah. Thursday, you trying to kill me, Amazon. Whereas, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you get in your car, you go to GNC, and you pick up the supplement that you want.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
Oh my goodness, the world has changed. We want instant gratification. Time is more of the essence, I believe, than ever. So, did I hit that inbound lead fast? I think I did. Did I hit it well prepared? Probably not. Well, then we'll see. We'll see if I get it. We'll see if I get that engagement letter back. It'd be a cool company to work for, though.
Yeah, which on the other side of the spectrum, there is such thing as over-preparing, right? Have you ever over-prepared? Sometimes I've gotten to inbound leads that I judge it. That was so weird. I just got a FaceTime. Sometimes I've gotten an inbound lead, and because the email is at AOL.com, I'll just be like, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this preparing. Or if I see that it's a real CEO founder, I'll prepare so much that by the end of it, I've gone on their Facebook, I've seen their wedding pictures, right? So there is something as over preparing, because you're making the assumption that because they're coming to you, that it's for sure guaranteed deal closed.
My problem with and again, I don't want anyone thinking that you shouldn't prepare. My problem with over preparing is that it can have some bad consequences for me. And I tell all my clients, look, you've got to figure out what the right mix is for you. But for me, I know that I lose a little bit of that natural conversation if I know too much. I lose a little bit of the dummy curve. I lose a little bit of that natural curiosity. If I run at a sales call knowing more about the issue than my prospect does, then I can very quickly railroad it. I lose all the power of that natural curiosity. I lose the power of the dummy up. I lose the spark of that improv spark, right?
Yeah.
And get a little too staid,
totally.
A little too scripted. And you know what? And there was a time again 10 years ago where that script was a fabulous road to run on, right? It was a fabulous way to go in with the script, was a real big help. Now I don't really need it as much.
Yeah.
I should still be better. I should be prepared and I should be trained, but I don't want to go in staid and boring. And well, the theater. Can you over prepare for the theater?
Oh my God, totally. And now that I would say, what a wonderful, delicious place to be, where I had memorized the scripts, the sales scripts, so verbatim. It was so robotic. I was repelling prospects left and right, but still to have gone through that learning curve of memorizing and getting it down so that now the scripts are not what I'm worried about when I'm going into a call. Maybe some tactical questions, sure. maybe mindset, making sure I'm steely, making sure that I can push back if decision makers aren't there, having a sophisticated negotiation conversation, which still, I'll admit, I could use a little help. But what a wonderful place to be where the scripts are baked in and they have been massaged to your style, and you can use the least amount of brain calories as possible on a sales call thinking about what line comes next. But yeah, you're right. In theater,
and then with all that bandwidth freed up, you can then direct that bandwidth to what it should be used for, where it's powerful, to really listening, to really observing, to watching the micro expressions, to being that third party at the selling event. You can devote a lot of. It's like creating that muscle memory. What does Antonio always used to tell us? He used to say, amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they can't get it wrong. And so you practice, but then there's got to be a fluidity to it. Then you've got, it's like do you remember Mr. Miyagi and Daniel San in The Karate Kid, where he was paint the fence. And Daniel was like, well, it's great if I get attacked by a fence that needs painting, but how is this helping? And then Mr. Miyagi throws a few punches at him, and the muscle memory of paint the fence, muscle memory of wash the car, means that a lot of it can be reflex, which I think is where when you've had enough at bats, when you've prepared enough, when you've trained enough, when you've had those at bats, well, that's when that's when that muscle memory comes into play, and you can dance with them then, right?
Mm-hmm. And you can.
Hey, you know what? I used to dance, ballroom dancing. I know that's going to surprise you, and perhaps I shouldn't tell everybody in the world.
Nothing surprises me when you tell me.
Yeah, I did used to. And when you dance with someone who can dance, it's like wowzers. That even though you don't know what you're doing, the fact that you're dancing with someone that can dance, you are at their mercy. You go exactly where they want you to go. And I think when a prospect meets you or I, they're dancing with someone who can dance. And that's what we try and do with our clients, right? We try and make them so good.
It allows you to be here now, be present in the meeting.
So what's the summary, Sophia? What's the summary? How should we prepare for an inbound lead? And is an inbound lead gold or is it absolute garbage? What should we do?
We should treat all inbound leads like gold. We should prepare like we would for any other call. Right?
And can you be over-prepared?
You can be over-prepared, yes.
I think you can be over-prepared, right, as well.
Yeah, don't spend 30 minutes preparing for a call that might last 15 minutes.
Do you know, and that's the value of training, right? Train rather than prepare. If you train, then you're ready for anything. The time that you would have spent preparing for an hour, if you invest that time in training instead and then light prepare so that you've got that humanity and you've got that playfulness still in you and you've got that the ability to react. I think that's the value of training. And listen, at the end of the day, guys, if you're listening to this and you got some inbound leads, they're gold if for no other reason than they are fabulous at bats. What a great way to build your muscles with at bats. Okay, guys, good selling. It's goodbye from Sophia.
And it's ta-ta from Carlos.
Take care.